Hi, friends. It's been a while. I hope you're doing amazing. Happy New Year. Because I haven't seen you in a hot minute, or you haven't seen me in a hot minute. But it's been eventful. And so today I just want to take some time and just chat through all that stuff and give you a little bit of an update and kind of what I'm thinking, what I'm working on. But I hope you're doing really well. Let me know how you're doing below. I read all of your stuff, and I know everybody says that, but I really enjoy reading, your comments and your replies and stuff. It makes me feel connected to you, honestly. And so in this world that we live in where we just talk into cameras and then we distribute it, the only way that I really get to know you is like if you comment or leave a reply. And so if you do so, thank you. I appreciate it a whole lot. But let's talk about where we're at. So, New Year 2025. And as you guys know, I was full time at VU Church until 2022. And I've just been in a transition period. And so I just want to talk a little bit about that stuff. So I came off full time. I was the creative director. And then I had a baby as well. And then Angel got laid off. Good times. This was January of 2023. We had like a 2-week-old. We were literally at the pediatrician's office about to go into our son's appointment when I go on Instagram and I see this post of like all these layoffs that happen on Spotify. And then right after that, Angel got a bunch of texts, and then we kind of put 2 and 2 together. He obviously couldn't take the call then because we had the doctor's appointment. So the whole time it was like anxiety is building, Then we get home, he takes the call, and he was laid off. It was part of just a massive layoff that they did across the company. If you remember that a few years ago, a few companies went through that process. And so that kicked off just a massive transition for us on top of just the transition that I had already done, kicked off, which was from full time to just going back to my just business owner mindset, and then having a baby. And so I've gone through like layers of transition that I don't think I fully anticipated when I kicked it off, and when the things that I had control over happened, the things that I didn't. And so I think one of the things that I've had to learn over time is like the difference of just really working on your own. It's hard. It's a lot harder. Obviously, everything has its pros and cons, but when it comes to like the demand of it, I think it's a little harder. So I was just used to, for many years, working under an organization that had a vision, that had very specific environments and culture to it. And I got used to working with a team. Even before I was the creative director, there was always a team, other people to work with and problem solve with. And I got used to it. And to be honest, like, I think when you become a creative director and you have people that you work with, it's a different dynamic because your responsibility at that point is just different. There's a little bit more of like, the mindset shift is from like executing all of the work, the creative work, to now overseeing it, which is different. And then you're managing people, right? And you're managing the department, and you're making sure that whatever orders we're getting, right? Whatever vision we're getting, whatever goals we're getting, we're actually smashing them. And so we do that through creative and through people management. And so it's just a different dynamic. And to be honest, like people, and this is if you're new to leadership, people give you wings, right? You're able to do more with other people. Nothing in this world that's big and incredible and cool was done with one person. Like there's always collaboration. And I think that's very much embedded into the way that God created us, And so I got used to that. I got used to not necessarily having to execute everything, which is the reality of a creative director role, because you're in meetings and you're doing different things. And so I come out of that ecosystem into just me, myself, and I. That was the team. And so the vision had to come from me, the to-dos had to come from me, the structure had to come from me, the execution had to come from me. And it was a little bit of like a shock, you know? This is not the first time I do this, because if you're familiar with my story, I went to art school, I graduated art school, I had a few jobs in like micro agencies. Then I worked for another church, it's called Christ Fellowship in Palmetto Bay. I worked there. And then I went solo with Angel. We kicked off our business then. It was like an agency. And that was in 2016. We were like 3 months married when we did that. And so it wasn't the first time that I was in this world, but I was never in the leadership roles that I was when I left VU. And so then that transition for me was difficult. Another one that was difficult for me was I was in an environment of just like so much vision. And that is something I've learned actually through the course of like this last 2 years. Vision really ignites me. I do really well with vision, especially the more clear that it is. And so not having that kind of structure. And I know vision is not necessarily structured, but for me, the way my brain works, vision gives me structure because it gives me information on what I need to do next, you know? And so I was in an environment where I was flowing, you know, and I knew how to, I just flowed. And you know, when you're in a season of life or you're doing something and you're just flowing, like that is really enjoyable and it comes naturally to you. And so when you kind of don't encounter that anymore, it gets a little difficult. And so that kicked off a whole thing of like self-doubt, insecurity. If you know my journey, you know that insecurity is something that I'm challenged by from the day I can remember. I remember the transition from like childhood innocence to like, I guess not adulthood, but like this, I guess, sinful mindset. That's a weird way of saying that, but like not sinful, but like the fall of man of like your your inability and your insufficiency. And I have this very vivid memory of I was at church. I think I was like 12. And I used to like to sing at church. I was very like active at church. And I remember like I was singing. This is, mind you, a little Hispanic church, Pentecostal. So just different from the church world that we're used to now, that I work in, of like a massive church and like programs. No. And so I was up there singing, and literally as I'm singing, I realized that I cannot sing. It was awful. And it made me so insecure in that moment. I never did it again after that. And so I remember like growing up and kind of like growing this awareness of like my insufficiency. And so that's been something that I've just had to work through my whole life. That's what Hazy's about. Just overcoming that and sticking through it, even when you don't have all the answers. And to be honest, I think that's like the way that God works in my life, because I'm understanding now, even in this season that I'm in, that you don't have all the answers and you're never gonna, right? And you have to be okay with that, number one. And you have to learn how to move past it and just keep going. And that's hard for me because I don't have the personality that's like adventure and like, yeah, we'll figure it out. I'm very calculated, if you can't tell. And I'm very prescribed, and I like having my plan. I like being prepared. And that's my flow. That's how I am. And so whenever I don't have that, I'm like, whoa, instability, what's happening? And so that's God's way of working through me. But it's also my way of like encouraging you and resourcing you, because I also believe that we help each other, right? And so if I figured out the answers for certain things, I'm going to package that stuff and I'm going to give it to you, because I have been in situations where nobody did that for me. I really had to figure it out on my own. And I just wish somebody would have. It would have made it a little bit easier. And so I'm in that season now too, like with business. We're trying to do business differently now than we did in 2016. And so we're figuring that stuff out. We don't really know how it works. And like, I meet with our accountant. I'm like, I don't know what this means. Like, and I just don't get it. It's just not like built into me, but I still have like this entrepreneur. I don't know how to pronounce that word because I am from Puerto Rico. But I have that spirit in me, you know, and so like I want to keep going. I know that I'm somebody with a lot of vision, and I'm just like, we'll figure it out. We'll pay people to do those things for us, because at the end of the day, I'm not going to be doing accounting forever. You know, I don't need to do that. There's people that know how to do that. That's why you hire graphic designers. Anyway, all that to say that then it opened up this world of like self-doubt and insecurity and like this desire for validation. I really wanted people around me, especially people that I worked with, you know, that I spent a lot of time with, to validate this new season that I was in of like relaunching my business and launching an educational business. And to be honest, it didn't come in the format that I wanted or that I thought that I needed, and it crippled me and made me feel really small. And so I went through a period of just being crippled. I think 2023, towards the end of 2023, that's where I was. And then 2024, I really took it upon myself to fight through that and to really shake that stuff off. And I did. And I'm not saying that like it doesn't knock me and that I don't feel insecure. I definitely do. I have my moments. But I've gained the tools to really help me move past that, you know, and like part of that is like belief in God. Like I go to church, right? I grew up my whole life in church. And so I believe in God, right? Like my life is dedicated to God and I practice a Christian life. But like, do you actually believe that God can do a miracle? Do you actually believe that God can do the thing that he put inside of you? That's the work that I had to do, because it was like, I don't know. I don't see it around me. And I really had to get into the zone of like understanding that's not how God works, you know? And so I love reading the Old Testament because it's all of these characters that God did something amazing through, right? And we always look at it from that lens of like, oh my God, Abraham, you know, or Moses, like the leader, great leader. And you forget their humanity. And so sometimes when you read scriptures, you see that, you understand that like God called these people before anything happened. So like there was like a step of obedience and nothing happened. You know, like Moses never saw the promised land. You know what that is, guys? You know, like being told like, go, I'm gonna bring you I'm gonna take you to a better place, and like you never see it, but that's all you did your whole life. And we celebrate this guy. We remember him to this day as like a great leader. But just put yourself in those shoes. That's hard to do. I've had to understand that. I've had to just embrace it and be okay with it. And just let God do what he's going to do it, and let him do it in the way he's going to do it. Because he's going to do it with me differently than he is with you. And so I think that's a really important lesson that we all need to learn. And so that's where I'm at. And it's definitely highs and lows, right? But just navigating all of that and just sticking it through, and just knowing that at the end of the day, God is faithful, right? And we operate from promise, not from facts, right? So sometimes, you know, God is God, and I'm a firm believer that if he's put something in your heart, it's because that's your purpose. And so everything that I'm doing today, I firmly believe that is something God put inside of me, and that's embedded into what I'm supposed to do in this life. It just doesn't look and feel all the time how you want it to, how you dream it to. And that's okay. And building a business is every day, to every hour. And sometimes you can spend 8 hours, you know, building your business and you feel like you didn't do anything. But those 8 hours do count towards the cumulative effort of like 5 years of doing that, you know? And so that's where I'm at, friends. And this year I want to be bolder. I taught my first hangout. I want to teach some more new things. I want to get better at talking about stuff. I want to talk more. I want to share more. I want to teach more. I want to put more stuff out. And so I am putting myself out to this year more than I have in the past. And that's what I hope to end the year with. And so I just wanted to share all that because, you know, we're all going through stuff. We all have a dream, right? We all have something that kind of propels us forward, right? A hope, a future. a promise. And the outworking of that just doesn't always feel great. And so if you're in that, just, I hope that this reminds you you're not alone and that we all go through this stuff. And at the end of the day, what matters is how you come out of it. And are you stronger because of it? I hope that you are, and so let's keep at it. Let's keep every day just showing up and giving our best. And that's my update for you. That's where I've been at mentally and emotionally, spiritually, and I feel good. And I'm excited to see what God continues to do through this, through me, and what He continues to do through you. I really believe that everything that I put out is meant to equip you. And it's probably meant to equip the capital C church, because that's just the world that I come from. And that's the world that I know. And that's the world that I believe in. And so I love you very much. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. And I hope you're doing amazing. I'll see you on the next one. Have the best day.